warm welcome to the program. This is the newspaper review segment on the Good Morning Africa show with me, David Otokuno Attoh, sitting in for your regular host, Kwame Owusu Danso. We've wasted much time. Sorry for the late start of the programming. These things happen sometimes. But hey, we're back to do justice to the various newspaper headlines and do our discussions on the various topics that are making headlines on the various front pages of the daily papers. Let me just go straight to what we'll be looking at this morning. We'll be looking at a story from the Daily Guide newspaper that has the big front page story, color blind, that says the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, talking about vigilantism there. We'll be having a discussion on that one. And then this morning we'll be looking at a story on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Says 12 filed for presidential polls. So far 12 persons have filed their nominations to contest in this year's presidential polls, and today is the last day for the filing of nominations for the various parties and individuals who are interested in contesting the presidential primaries or the presidential elections for this year. So by 5 p.m. the filing will stop. But so far 12 persons have filed their nominations with the Electoral Commission of Ghana. And then we'll have the Daily Analyst. The front page story says we would have wished to meet Mahama, says EC chair, as Mahama files for December 7. The Electoral Commission is not happy with the former president for not showing up to file his own nomination. We're having a look at that paper. And then our African story today will come from the Daily Post newspaper that talks about U.S. threatens visa restrictions against African countries that engage in electoral violence. And this is a very, very big topic we'll be looking into, because most of the African countries are going to the polls this year. December, Ghana is going, Guinea is supposed to be going, other African countries too are gearing up for their various elections this year. So the U.S. is threatening some sanctions if some of the governments engage in electoral violence. Then we will have the Insight newspaper, the almighty Insight newspaper, with the front page story: People's Movement mobilized in week of anti-imperialist action. So these are stories for discussion this morning. I'm taking a quick break. When I come back, I'll introduce my guest and then we'll go straight into the discussion. We'll be right back after this.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to the program, and this is the newspaper review segment on the greatest show on television. That's when it comes to morning shows right here on the African continent. Now, let me introduce my guest for this morning. I've been joined in the studios by Adam Sabo Abdul Rahman is a member of the NPP National Communication Team and also as the former Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Good morning, Sabo.
Good morning.
You're looking great. It's been a while.
In fact, I think it's almost about 2 months.
Together to do this. Right. We'll be joined by other panelists this morning. We'll also be joined by A.B. Fusini. We're expecting him in the studio pretty shortly. We'll have that national discussion, building a common consensus for national development. A.B., sorry, Mr. Sabo. How is the campaign going for the party and your candidates? Let's start off that way.
Inshallah, by the grace of God, I think the campaign is moving on smoothly. There are no potholes on our way. Before then, of course, let me say good morning to our church viewers, good morning to the good people of the New York of Ghana, Nima, and then the capital of the world, Tamale. I also send my warm greetings to the President, His Excellency Nado, and Dr. Mahmoud. And not forgetting of one of the, in fact, I don't know how to put it, but I believe when he gets into Parliament, David, you one day tell me that I said something here about Dr. Anyas,
okay.
the CEO of NAPCO.
Okay.
I can't wait to see this man in Parliament, especially coming from a constituency that I come from, Tamale Central. And from the look of things, I don't think there's anything that will stop him from getting the seat come 7th December. In fact, right from this program by God's Grace Sunday, I'll be back in Tamale Central to help him actually continue with the campaign. And like you said, let me just start it from there. In fact, when I went to Tamale.
All right, Sabo, let me just take a quick break to solve some problems. We'll be right back after this.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to the program. Let's just start off with our topic. But Sabo, before we do the African story, I was asking you were wrapping up on.
Exactly. Like I was saying, Tamale Central, because you're asking of our campaign, there are certain areas or electoral areas that was very difficult, no-go area for NPP, regardless of whoever you are. But I was there last week, and a place known as Chanley, where in fact I was actually brought up as a young person. There were areas that we could not go, but we were shocked when they themselves organized themselves and then called the candidate to come and then talk to them.
Right.
That they've seen what Nana Akufo-Addo is doing, and then they are touched by our programs and policies and want to be part of the success story. Right. Quite apart from that, I think the whole of, there's a place called Lamakara, Zedbele, what do you call Gumbini, Salamba, Sakasaka, Tishugu. In fact, David, market. You know, for me, I don't just say things just because I belong to that particular essay. In fact, if things were not good, I would have said it here. But for what I have seen so far, and knowing the dynamics in Tamale, and having been in Tamale most part of my life, there's nothing, unless, of course, the Almighty God decide to do something different. But if all things being equal, if it remains like this, then there's nothing stopping Dr. Ibrahim Anyas, popularly known as Barhama Anyas, to get to Parliament. And that young man too, David, I don't know whether you've met him before.
No,
you've
I've
ever
not.
even tried to have an encounter with him.
I have not.
He's somebody that I think I need to learn under.
Okay.
He's very versatile, in fact, very prolific when it comes to delivery. And then very down to earth. You know, our culture in the North. In fact, when he meets you and know that you are even older than him 1 week, he has to go down. And when I tried to find out from people, I wanted to know whether it's because of politics. And both NDC and people, that has been his nature.
Okay. All right. So we'll come back to that, but let's just go straight to our topics for today. But I think that some residents in Tamale will not share the same sentiment. And you can join us on Facebook at Pan African Television. We're also streaming live on YouTube, also at Pan African Television. The WhatsApp number will be showing pretty shortly on your screen. If you disagree with Sabu and we are in Tamale, in that part of the country, let me just read the comments. Let's just go straight to
why not ask for if you agree with Sabu? I rather disagree. Why are you looking for disagreement?
We'll come back to that, but let's just do our first topic for today. Let's look at our African story. And as I indicated earlier on, a lot of the African countries are going to the polls by the close of this year. Meanwhile, the United States is threatening, visa restrictions against African countries that engage in electoral violence. Now, the U.S. government has warned of their consequences if African countries going to the polls do not work towards clamping down on electoral violence. It has thus urged all political party leaders across the continent to hold on to integrity and ensure that peace prevails before, during, and after the conduct of their respective elections. Key amongst the sanctions the U.S. has threatened ahead of the upcoming elections is the imposition of travel restrictions. Now, Sabo, what do you make of the move by the U.S.? Obviously trying to fine, the call is good, to ensure peaceful elections. But I see some form of, hand swooping into the affairs of African countries. Do you share the same opinion?
No, I don't share the same sentiment with you. And to me, I think it is not a new call. Maybe they're only trying to re-echo what has already been there. Because I don't think, even among African countries, there are countries, that do not actually condone with electoral violence and will not want to associate themselves with any country that is engaged in that particular decision. But talk of electoral violence, I will be hit by sad news this morning about the sudden demise of the Infantiman MP. That is Echo, we see Hayford. Let me take this opportunity to express my profound condolences to the bereaved family and to the entire MPP party as a whole, and then also make an appeal to the security services to speed up, double up their listen to make sure that they bring the perpetrators to book. Because sometimes when something like this happens, David, all of us are not safe, especially like the likes of us who also come to sit on set, speak our mind, and then move. You might have stepped on somebody's toe, and he might have also reacted wrongly. So I believe we are all at risk at this point in time. So if we do not join hands to make sure that we get this kind of perpetrators to book, then our lives are in danger.
Okay.
And I also want to call on political leaders, to also talk to their, members, special communicators, to be guided by what they say on media around this time. Because you agree with me that passions are very high around this time. And then sometimes too, we are a little bit far away from our normal way of thinking. And any trigger can lead to something different.
Okay.
So I'll use that. But let me just come back to this thing that you just said. You agree with me that today, I think it's in the news, and I'm not saying that he knows no color when it comes to vigilantism, that this time around, whoever engages in vigilantism will be dealt with mercilessly. And I think that is a call. Somebody like me, I have always not been supportive of this vigilante edition. Even when Invisible was being mentioned here and there, I have always sat down and said I was part of those who started the Invisible edition, but it was for internal party security and based on our past experiences, what we have encountered during elections and the rest. Yes, but if it is going out of proportion, then why not make sure that we stop it? Because David, look, he's my brother. In fact, I even got in fact, I've been saying he's my brother just because we are the Gomez, but I don't know that we are even related by blood. So you can imagine that because of politics, then I decided to do something towards him, only to go home to realize that we are all coming from the same place. Quite apart from that, David, you are a Southerner, I'm a Northerner, but we are all Ghanaians. We have common destiny, we have common interest as far as Ghana is concerned. Expressing your opinion that is against my opinion does not make you an enemy. I think we should rise above that and try to always embrace one another, try to show love, although in diversity. Try to let people know that, yes, we have a higher capacity of bringing out issues and being able to convince people who are not on our side. I think that is what we should really be doing as politicians, but not targeting people who are critical about what we think is the right thing. And I think, to me, David, if you are a fan of criticizing me, I think in a way, I should really see it as a blessing. It means that certain things that I've been doing, me thinking that it is right, you have seen it and you are punching holes and for me to make amends. So this sudden, and if you look at the way things went, I suspect a foul play. Because highway robbery will have had an information, maybe prior to where you are coming from, and they will have traced you up to a particular point, or they will have mounted a roadblock, and sometimes they have somebody on the other side communicating to them about your movement and everything. So they know their target.
Yeah.
And when they stop them, that they ask them, amongst them, who is the member of parliament? And he owned up. And nothing, nowhere, nothing. Then they just shot him.
He was accused of, bringing hardship to his community.
But no.
By the robbers before they shot him.
No.
According to reports.
No. But it's going to say, does this make sense? So can the president be shot just because there are some people in this country who are saying that he has brought hardship on them? Even me, as a teacher in the classroom, a student might have said that I brought hardship on him based on my correctional measures that I might have taken upon him. So does it mean that he should shoot me or I should lose my life?
So you see this to be election-related crime?
Yes, to me. Because one, if it is highway robbery, they should have gone away with some valuables. Nothing was taken. The driver is also dead this morning. The bullet passed through the arm of the driver, and the hospital has just reported he's also dead. And they didn't make away anything. Just left like that. Me, I've always said, frankly speaking, David, I don't know. But me, that has been my thinking. Because me, I can't slaughter a fowl. Those who know me very well. Anytime it is salad time, I buy in fact, I don't buy it and they prepare it where I buy it. So I bring the medicine home. I can't slaughter a fowl. So I can't even think of harming my fellow human being, regardless of whatever he has done to me. So I am of the view that there were certain statements made, especially the chairman of the NDC. Me, up to now, I don't know why this man is on the loose when these things are happening.
What
Oh, no, to be frank with you, what is it? I'm puff one. What? Me, I don't know his name. I've never even want to know his name because of the way he has. In fact, when he was an organizer, I liked the man very much.
No, because
he was one of the.
I'm coming. I just wanted
something.
To know who made
the current chairman Ofosu Ampafu or what? The former local government.
The national chairman.
The local, yes, national chairman.
Okay.
National chairman. You see, no. Not to be frank with you, he's not a big brother. With all due respect, regardless of he being your chairman, I've condemned my own party members when they make certain statements. I didn't condemn.
What statement did he make?
Oh no, there were so many statements about those. Let me come. You mean the chairman Ampofo?
Yes, the one
you've forgotten of the leak tape that he's still dealing with it in court. No. Please, listen. There is no smoke without fire.
Sabo, I'm coming. You've made.
Yes. I am saying this on record, and I mean it. That this man should be arrested. He should be the first suspect.
Based on what?
Based on the statements that he made.
What statement? What statement did he make?
Look, and they are coming chronologically.
Let's help our viewers to understand what statement did he make.
Thank you, David. Let me tell you. You remember the leak tape? He said they'll make this country ungovernable, and even there were issues of kidnapping that should go on. And immediately after that particular tape, that the kidnap of the Takoradi 3 girls, may their soul rest in peace. I'm not trying to remind the parents of this sad distance. Then there were other kidnap issues, including the Kumasi one that failed and other things. And later on, killings also started coming. And you tell me that as a rational human being, I shouldn't think about what he said and then link it to what's actually happening.
He has not accepted. You know,
yeah, of course, but
that tape was doctored.
But even a thief arrested red-handed was so denied.
So you think that he should be picked up?
Yes, to me. He shouldn't be left.
Are you connecting him to what happened? Are you connecting him to what happened?
Let me tell you.
Just a minute.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. No. I'm not talking of the case that is in. I'm linking to the case.
That is the case we are talking about.
Yes. Please. Let me tell you. For the safety of you as my brother, for the safety of me and the safety of the viewers out there, I am calling for the arrest of the national chairman. I am calling for his arrest. I'm telling you. You should be arrested for this death.
Which case are you?
Sabo, address me.
The death of the member of parliament.
So you are linking the statement he made to the death of the former member of parliament.
But that's right.
And you think that he should be picked up.
Yes.
You are making that statement
I
here.
believe he's a prime suspect in this particular case. He should be the number one to be picked. Okay. And then maybe going beyond that, they should also look at his business association, the disease.
Okay.
People that he's been doing business with. And then try to follow maybe recent happening. Maybe they can also get a hint from one of his business associates. And then last but not the least too, I think they should also look at those that he contested with, both internally and then externally. And also look at, because we are in a political season. Yeah. These are the areas. But to me, the number one is the national chairman of the NDC.
Those are strong allegations.
Oh, yes.
Those are strong allegations you are making. And look, we disassociate ourselves with these allegations. But I think that
I claim responsibility. Also responsibility of what I'm saying.
All right. So if you are invited to defend
what
let me bring in honorable.
Remind that this is a matter before a competent court of jurisdiction. You be very careful.
All right. So we've been doing let me introduce my second guest who just walked in. We've been joined in the discussion by ABA Fuseni is the minority spokesperson in Parliament and also the member of Parliament for the Sagnerugu constituency. Honorable, we're looking at an African story that has been linked to what is happening here in Ghana. The United States threatening to invoke visa restrictions against African countries that engage in electoral violence.
Okay, because I heard all these callbacks, so I thought you were discussing all of them at the same time.
He decided to box in all those things because he sees that to be election related.
So I don't know whether I can go on the same tangent or
when you
introduce those topics.
I'll introduce that topic. Let's look at the
So first and foremost, let me say a good morning to your good self, to my brother Sabo. Today he has decided not to wear. This time he doesn't like wearing a hat. Advise him that he knows that as Muslims, especially on Friday, you are not completely dressed until you put on your hat. So if you haven't brought one, when we go outside, I'll give him one. Let me say good morning to your crew and the Pan-African team for the wonderful work you are doing, and of course to your viewers across the world, and more importantly to the Brichina people of the Sanaru constituency. Let me apologize for coming late. I got back from our constituency yesterday, and I think that I had not had enough opportunity to even catch a rest before I had to come here. Okay. So I'm sure your good viewers there would take kindly to my apology. Let me first and foremost express my sympathy and my sorrow and my commiserations to the family, friends of my honorable colleague and friend. Attoh Hayford was a friend of mine in Parliament. I considered him one of the decent members, the few decent members in the MPP who will engage in political discourse, speak forcefully about his position without insult, very decorous. He was a gentleman. I feel very sad. When I just read the thing at first, I greeted it with disbelief that something like this could happen to an honorable colleague, and I felt really very sad. I still feel very, very sad. It's a sad loss for the august institution of Parliament, and more importantly, to the political discourse that all of us want to have in a very decent, decorous, peaceful, and civil manner. And so when things like this happen, I'm sure all of us should greet it with the condemnation that it deserves. It's terrible. This should never be done to even anybody, let alone a member of Parliament representing thousands of people as constituents. And I would want to urge the security to endeavor to carry out a comprehensive investigation into this matter. We have been told they are citing armed robberies and others. I think we should investigate it and establish the veracity. But right. I feel very sad about the tangent my brother Sabo went on this matter. Maybe let me go to the U.S. thing that you mentioned.
Because I think we can box in the two
together. The U.S. foreign policy is under Donald Trump says America first, and America determines its own vital strategic geopolitical interests. And so who are we, who are recipients of American aid and others, to dictate to the U.S. how its policy should be run? And they are indicating that they have premised their support for the developing countries and others on the back of a sound democratic process. You remember when President Obama came here, his preoccupation was that the U.S. will encourage Africa to build strong institutions rather than strong men. Yeah. Democracy can only function when institutions work, not strong men, not people who are pseudo despots and demigods who want us to worship them as leaders, but that we should build powerful institutions. And it's in the building of institutions that democracy can not only thrive but endure. Unfortunately, we are tending to think that grooming a strong man is the basis upon which you can trumpet your democratic credentials. That's the exact opposite. Because despotism is an antithesis of democracy. It is not. Anybody that can contribute to the enhancement of the democracy in our country. In our place, the history has been that the stronger a person grows, the more he feels he owns the country. He can do whatever he likes. He doesn't broker any, what do you call it, sentiments that are contrary to the opinions that he holds. He thinks that he's the only person who knows everything. He's the omnipotent who has power to do anything that he likes. So even when he's wrong and people are trying to point out to him, he will still sit solidly on his arrogance and think that in his arrogance he controls everybody and must do whatever he likes. That is what we must all work against. And that is the tendency that this government under Nana Akufo-Addo has tended to adopt. That tendency to be autocratic and not listening to the voices of the people. And that doesn't inure well to the democratic process all of us have to build. I consider that nobody is perfect. Even us in opposition, we are not perfect. But when people prefer advice, it is important for us to listen to each other across the divide. And then in the trade of conflicting ideas, you will be able to pick out the best that will enable you move forward for this country. So if the US says that it is going to ensure that those who perpetrate electoral violence, will not receive some support from them, or they will impose certain restrictions on them, so be it. But I am saying that it should not have been for the US to tell us.
Yeah.
I always say that, look, if you have your mouth in somebody else's kitchen, you cannot assert your independence and freedom. It should not be for Ghana is a sovereign country. So it should not be up for somebody, but we ourselves should tell ourselves that even where we are going, it's not proper. So if you are doing things that work against our democratic process, we should not wait for somebody to come from outside to tell us that this is what we should be doing in the interest of our own democracy. Right. Because as our people say, if it has to take the goat to bite and drive away the intruder, it's the shame of the dog. You should know that you yourself, what you are doing doesn't contribute well to enhancing your democratic process. So don't wait for somebody to come and tell you that he will impose restrictions on you before you listen.
But Honorable, I have a little problem. Yes, the call out there is good, but I'm looking at the influence and the outstretching of the United States government's hands in elections in Africa. Not just elections, but socioeconomic activities. Why won't you stop and ensure that these things are stopped by your own persons instead of putting the call out there and imposing visa restrictions when you yourself can be faulted for the various bad issues that are happening on the African continent?
You see, that is why I just told you that if you have your mouth in somebody else's kitchen, you cannot assert your independence and freedom. Because you go around cap in hand begging for aid. You are lying prostrate before somebody to give you money to chop. And the person tells you, if you go to his house to look for money to chop, and he tells you, "Master, dance according to this tune." Can you dance the tune you want? If you want to dance the tune you want, go and dance your dance and see whether you get that money. He will give you. Yeah. So it is up to you to assert your independence and freedom by being self-reliant and doing things that will inure to your own benefit.
Okay.
To be able to have the capacity to look after yourself. And my brother, the capacity Allah Almighty has given us. Africa is the richest continent. But look at the paradox. Africans are the poorest. Yeah. So in resolving that paradox, we will anchor ourselves solidly to stand on our own grounds and tell anybody that, look, you can't come and tell us this. That we ourselves know that this is right and we'll do what is right.
Okay.
But until then, and I'm saying that some of these courts are in order because we ourselves are not even doing the right things to ourselves. Look at what we do to ourselves in the run-up to elections. Look at what we do to ourselves. Okay?
All right.
Using all manner of means to manipulate the verdict of the people. And let's take that. What the US is saying is not elections are not just about on the day you go and vote.
Yeah.
From the time of the registration of voters, through the exhibiting exercise, through to the publication of the notice of poll, accepting the nomination of presidential candidates, all those things factor into free, fair, transparent, and peaceful elections.
Okay.
So this is what, as a country, we must begin to do for ourselves and not wait for external countries to come and tell us this is not good, do this, do that, do that.
I think once we're on the floor, I just wanted to add this story from the Inside newspaper before we go into the political issues. Then the Inside newspaper is reporting people's movement mobilized in wake of anti-imperialist action, and I think we can tie into this U.S. threat to impose sanctions on African countries that engage in electoral violence. Now, the paper is reporting that dozens of left political parties, people's movement and organizations, trade unions and international networks have been holding diverse actions against imperialism from October 5th to 10th as part of the week of anti-imperialist action. The events, which range from public lectures, online seminars, workshops, social media campaigns and the rest, has become necessary, you know, in the fight against anti-imperialist cause. So Pan-African Television is championing the cause right here in Ghana, and I just wanted to see if we can tie it into the discussions that we're having on the U.S. imposing sanctions on African countries.
Yeah, let me tie this within the context of the geopolitical situation we have today. You know, when we had a very strong bipolar world, that is the dichotomy of the East and the West, with the so-called Western nations being the capitalist countries, and you had the Eastern communist countries and others. The world was striving towards a certain balance. But in the wake of the collapse of the Soviet Union, more or less the assumption of greater power by the US as almost the single superpower that is left, you know, it's tilted the balance. And you know, when we talk of this issue of imperialism, it is about people dictating to other countries, using their domestic interests as a foreign policy tool to control other countries. So they can manipulate and control other countries from within their own countries. They may not even be physically present in your country, but they control you. That is the imperialism that we are talking about. And it is just part of the things that we're mentioning. That if somebody has to dictate to you that, look, if you don't do A, B, C, D, I will take action against you on A, B, C, D. Deny you resources, impose restrictions on you, do those kinds of things. You see, those are the things that we are talking about. And it is a symptom. I've always said that if there's suffering in hell, blame death. If you don't die, you won't go there. If the bipolar world we had continued even to today, where we had these checks on the hegemony of the United States, because today the United States, almost with a few exceptions, that China is coming up a bit, and Russia is flexing a bit of muscle, but not like in the days of the Soviet Union. Yeah. You know, but for that, the US will have a total hegemony on the international scene, and they cannot be controlled.
Right.
So the other solution that I think in this people's movement is begin to put pressure on their governments, especially in Africa, to continue to assert our non-aligned position. You know, when the non-aligned movement was there, it sought to stay in the middle of the conflict between the Soviet Union and the United States and their allies alongside, so that we will not get caught up in this Cold War fight that was going on between the superpowers and others. Right. And so the rational thing for us to do as people, I would say it clearly. Number one is that we must coalesce our nations. My brother, Ghana is not a viable political entity. Even big Nigeria is not a viable political entity. In the light of today's global integration, none of these small balkanized African nations can stand on their own. My brother, let me just give you a cogent example.
Right, quickly.
Ghana competing against Germany, or Ghana competing against Britain, or Ghana competing against France. What chance do we stand? It is clear that we can match. Yeah. Am I lying? We'll be at the periphery. Now, even Germany, France, the UK, until the UK went for this Brexit, had found out that in today's world, their salvation lies in coming together, in coalescing, in forming a union. And that's how come they had the EU. Ally? Yeah. So imagine that you could not face Germany alone. Now Germany has gone and combined with France, Belgium, Italy, all those, and now they are now one entity. What is your chance? When you were even lying flat on your back, you couldn't see God. Now you are face down. What chance do you have? So for me, the answer lies in the legendary Osagyefo Dato Kwame Nkrumah, the founder of this nation, the undisputed founder of this nation, who said that, look, Africa's salvation lies in the continental unity.
Do you say founders?
Founder. There's nothing like founders. This your fake. This your fake thing you came and did
please be winding down for
Nkrumah can never be this. You can legislate in the hearts of people.
Nkrumah came to join.
You has decided.
Let him land and then
look, the African of the millennium.
You will have your bites, so hold on.
The please. African of the millennium.
Yeah, that one.
None of your Danko Buza. Your Danko Buza failures cannot match one tenth of Nkrumah's glory in Africa. So don't come there, there are some of your people who could not even win elections in their own areas.
So please,
when Nkrumah was in prison, he won election in prison. Don't compare yourself to Kwame Nkrumah.
All right, okay.
Sympathy, and you have your own. In their own areas, they couldn't get their own sympathy.
Please wrap up for us.
So, my brother, the answer is to get a continental African Union government that will protect our resources. I told you earlier that Africa is the richest continent.
Right.
But it's a paradox that Africans are the poorest. It's because we don't control our resources. So if we can have a united African government that can control our resources and make sure that the resources comes to the benefit of Africans, because those resources are sent outside the continent. Look at our gold, our platinum, our uranium. Every mineral on the face of this earth we are going is in Africa.
Okay.
Does it benefit us as Africans? Even just take our own country, Ghana. The gold, the tons of gold. You go to Abuasi and you see the crevices and gulfs that have been extracted and taken away. What is left of that place? Okay. So my brother, the answer for me is for all Africans to realize that our salvation lies in our unity.
Okay.
If we don't unite in the face of this global coalescence of nations into unions, our future is very, very bleak, because we cannot match the global competition as individual, small, balkanized African states. It is not possible.
Okay, let me bring in Sabo on the issue about people's movements mobilizing in wake of anti-imperialist action.
David, to be frank with you, I don't side with what the paper is saying. In my view, I don't think there's imperialism today.
Really?
Oh yes. You don't think there's
the imperialism? I know of hegemony, like you just mentioned. You mentioned in your submission.
Why don't you think?
Oh yes, so of course, but I'm about to do my submissions. Because if you look at imperialism very well, it is actually the use of force, weapons, and other things to be able to, gain control over other nations and the rest.
But it's not just weapons and force.
I am. When you want to distinguish between imperialism and hegemony, that is the only way you can distinguish. Hegemony is not about weapons, like what China is doing today. That is an hegemony that what US is doing. US have shifted from using weapons by using trade and other things to gain control over countries and the rest. We have shifted from imperialism since the fall of Soviet Union. Once Soviet Union was there and then US too was there, that was where, yes, countries decided to attach themselves to any of these blocks because of imperialism and other things, so that they can get the military back, the support and other things. But ever since the fall of Soviet Union, I mean, these superpowers have shifted from that way and have now adopted hegemony as a way of getting into other countries to gain control of their resources. Like my elder brother said, I totally agree with him when it comes to natural resources. Of course, Africa is the richest continent on earth, but paradoxically, we are the poorest when it comes to managing our own economy and affairs. So I strongly believe that, of course, when we begin to shift towards intra-trade within Africa with all these resources, I have always said, in the whole of West Africa, it is only Ghana and Senegal, who produce salt in commercial quantity and have large deposit of salt. David, I have taught in Adam for 4 good years. Just at the back of my school is where the salt basin is. But the people there, it doesn't even reflect in them. The resource is not being utilized or managed very well. So I strongly believe that Nigeria normally buy their salt from Brazil. Look at the population in Nigeria, almost 200 million. So supposing Nigeria want to be buying their salt from Ghana, which is just a next door neighbor, with regards to even transportation and everything, I mean, cost, price, everything will be cheap. And our salt too, it's not like when you go to the Songon salt, apart from salt pond salt, that's a bit, but the Songon salt is the natural one, the natural lagoon. I mean, it crystallized by itself, no any human intervention and other things. So you can imagine, and of course that one, it has an amount of iodinated, it's natural iodine in it, and others. So I strongly believe that when we begin to practice, and of course when it comes to cocoa too, I think we and Cote d'Ivoire are on top. So that one too, other African countries. I mean, there are so many things that we can trade among ourselves. And I believe when we begin to do that as a continent, we'll now also have some kind of a collateral that we can also use when we go into the world market. We can also be on our feet. Yes, it is true that when you have your mouth in somebody's kitchen, because of course, even our elections, we normally want foreign countries like Britain, US, Ghana. Britain, US has always finance our elections and the rest. So definitely, if the person want to pull one or two strings, I mean, it is so easy for that country to do that. And quite apart from that, our leadership style is also part of it. It is like when we come to power, we also tend not to do things that might have benefited the whole nation when of which the previous government did. And the problem normally comes from both the previous government and the current government. Because when the current government decides to complete projects that the previous government did, that the previous government will not take it, going around claiming ownership. I was the one who started it. I bought the idea and the rest. So then it makes the current government also think, it is about ideas. I also have a lot of ideas. Let me leave your idea for you and also go and bring my own idea. If only we are trading ideas, then I also have ideas. So that one, it is a country and the likes of us who suffer. Because at the end of the day, the taxpayers' money is locked up somewhere. And you can see, it's just like a white elephant or the populace in Nakan, you can see that this is something that you could have made use of.
So because of time, you made a statement I want to bring you back on because of that, because you have other issues to look at. Why do you think, or why don't you think that imperialism still exists?
There's no imperialism. There's no imperialism.
Because you said in your submission that
yes,
look, you have countries,
you can Google the content
now
of
who are trying, to subvert the sovereignty of other countries.
Yes.
And you don't see that to be imperialist.
That is no. Of course, it is. Yes, for that, and I will agree with you. It can be linked to some sort of or aspect of imperialism, but the word imperialist kind of this thing is no longer.
You have a problem with the word imperialist.
Yes,
manifestation you believe.
Yes, because what my understanding of this imperialism, in fact, they use force. They don't coerce you. They don't. I mean, they use force. They let you know that they are big boys. You are a small boy. Whether you like it or not, obey them. But now there's no more use of force because of UN Charter and other things. There's no more use of force. There's an intelligent way of actually getting the person on your side. So that is not imperialism.
Okay, we'll have that discussion later because I obviously share a different opinion on that. Because we've moved into a serious different form of neo-imperialism that maybe you are not aware.
If you say neo, I think then I can even come close. If you say neo-imperialism, of course.
If you say neo-imperialism, you are just talking about another dimension of imperialism.
That is it. Yes. No. So it's imperialism. Listen. You've seen the way you use another dimension of imperialism.
Yes, it tells you that if imperialism as a phenomenon is there.
It's there.
We are looking at another dimension of it.
Okay, let me also explain to you my understanding of neo-imperialism. It means that imperialism, as we know it, has been repackaged in a different form.
That's imperialism.
It's the same thing. It's the same.
A decorated donkey. A decorated donkey is still an ass.
All right, so
you can decorate a donkey with all the gold ornaments. It is still an ass. I just wanted to add a bit. You see, imperialism doesn't normally only connote force.
To force, yeah.
But something means by which you can be dominated and controlled from the metropolis.
Yeah.
So if they can sit in Washington and manipulate you like Chobi to do whatever they like, that is imperialism. But who says that? Look, America is reinforcing that with force. Yeah. They have military contingents. They dispatch their troops
over the African
to all. Right? Even in Ghana here, the American troops here.
Yeah.
American troops are fighting Ghana.
But you don't need to. Anyway.
No, that is what you're not seeing.
You don't need to fight.
You don't need to see that
first.
Because you see, once any foreign forces and you're on your soil, they will have some influence and control your country.
That is an invasion. That is an invasion of your.
You see, so I'm just indicating to you. I'm just indicating to you that that force is still there. They still use the element of force. No,
we'll take a quick break. When I come back,
if you go to the
discussion,
stay tuned.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
No, Sabo.
We're taking it.
Breakfast your day. Every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast your day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
All right, welcome back. You're still live on the greatest, biggest African morning show right on the African continent. It's the Good Morning African show with me, David Otokuno Attoh, sitting in for your regular host, Kwame Owusu-Danso. Let's just zoom straight into the politics of this country. And we're starting off with what the Daily Guide newspaper is reporting on its front page today. It says, "I'm colorblind," says Nana Akufo-Addo as he warns vigilantes. Now, let me just give you a little bit background to that story. President Akufo-Addo has warned that he will not sit down for any vigilante group to misbehave as the country prepares for the crucial general election on December 7th. He said the vigilante law, which was passed by Parliament in July last year, would be enforced to the letter and nobody can misbehave in the name of political parties. He served a notice on Wednesday in the Talenti constituency in the Upper East region, where he was on a 2-day campaign tour of that part of the country. Now, let me start off with you, Sabo, on this note.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important wake-up call that the president has made. And I don't think this should be the sole responsibility of the president. He spoke as the leader of this country. So it now behooves on all of us, to come on deck to see how best we can contribute towards this particular action. David, you agree with me that we need to also look at the remote causes of vigilantism, and that will also help us not to just say it rhetorically, but also be pragmatic of whatever we talk about this. If you agree with me, it was on the part of the what they call it, a security failure that actually led to this, the formation of these vigilantism or vigilante group by various political parties. People felt threatened. People felt their life were not safe during political activities, because you'll be sitting down and a group of people come on motorbike, just come and do something and move away. And you are not prepared. You are caught off guard and other things. So based on past experience, people decided to now arm themselves during political activities time. In case such movement comes, they can also repel those things. So I believe if security were up in their games those days, this thing wouldn't have gotten to where it has gotten to. Quite apart from that too, we politicians must also be blamed. In fact, some of them also started internally, not externally. In fact, some of them even, as we speak, you see a member of parliament within the same party, but he has a bodyguard. That even a member of the party, when he tries to express his view, he's beaten up. Or he's been threatened and other things. So I believe we should not just, even that's what I'm saying, that we should look at the remote cause. So we should not just be looking at NPP, NDC political violence, but we should also look at our intra-political activities and within the parties. Because today, you'll be surprised, David, that sometimes my brother here has serious enemies in NDC than even in NPP. me sitting here, I have serious enemies in NPP than even in NDC. Sometimes that's how the picture is like. I will feel safer moving around where NDC people are. And I always be cautious moving around where my own people are, based on what I am doing within the internal activities of the party. And the rest. So I believe it is not just for NPP, NDC, but it is a holistic approach that we need to do this within our political landscape to make sure that we cure it. Because it's just like a plant that is vegetatively propagated. When you cut it and you don't uproot it, I mean, with little drop of water and then suitable temperature, it will shoot up again, and it will continue to grow again. So we just saying that because of election time, we'll make sure that we'll open our eyes on these vigilante groups and the rest. I've always said, and I'll repeat it again, that vigilantism itself, the naked meaning of vigilantism, is a good thing. I mean, just be vigilant, just be awake, and make sure that nothing goes untoward. I mean, but it's being misused in this particular regards. And like I said, it is being misused because of what gave birth to it. People felt threatened that they can be attacked at any time. They can be overtaken at any time. So they should also get themselves armed. And by so doing, this in fact, my brother is here. You see, we those who from the north, so the Drogombes, when you go in for gunshots juju, you go in for knife juju, claps and other things, that when they hit you, it will not listen. And there's no war. I mean, what is your use? What is your value? Who knows you? So you yourself, to at least mistake, you want a fight to come so that they will know that there are men around. So when people are armed, I mean, excuse me to say, the tendency of them being provoked, even at the least listen, is very high than when they are not armed. So I believe we should also go beyond that to make sure that we get our citizens to also be looking for these kind of loose arms. In Accra alone, if they should tell you the number of people who are illegally possessing arms, my brother David, I think when you are going to sleep, you will not even allow air to enter into your room. There are many, and they are closer to you. Sometimes they come and park their cars and their guns are inside, but you will never know. So our security, I think we need to be very careful. And stop being political about it. Because me, I've always said, that's why I said that even internally, your own people can come after you. Your own people. And that is why even the death of this member of parliament, apart from me mentioning the prime suspect, that is the chairman of the NDC, I mean, they shouldn't also close their eyes to our own members, especially those that he has had problems with in the past. It can also be that it is somebody from within who did that. So that thinking that because it's a political season, the attention will be diverted to the other side. So I think this thing should be broadened. But if I had my own chance, then I would have started from Ofosu Ampafo. I think that today I have mentioned the name right. What is it, Kura? Ofosu
talking about somebody
yes. The national chairman of the NDCs, the former local government minister, the former national organizer of the NDC. He's the one I'm referring to. So, in fact,
dissociate from what you are saying.
But, big bro, you can take me on to anywhere. In fact, I can defend this thing very clearly. But the statement is out there.
Because you need to provide evidence.
Why should I place my card before you when we are going to play?
So you can
together?
defend when
take me anywhere.
In 2019, your government passed the vigilantism the bill, or is it now a law?
Yes.
The act. So it's a vigilantism and related offences bill that was passed in 2019. Yes. Now, following that incident, we've had a couple of incidences across the country. We can talk about the Ayawaso West Ogoni incidents. We can also talk about, the militarization of the society. We can also talk about, the alleged military camps that your government says are now springing up across the country. How do we relate to what the president is now talking about? He says he's not colorblind when even in his own backyard, what happened at Ayawaso West Wogon has not been dealt with. The recommendation of that finding has been shelved.
Like I told you earlier on off camera that I'm not privy to the recommendations. So I wouldn't know.
But it's out there in the public.
That, you are not getting me. Personally, me sitting here, before the 5 daily prayers that I've been praying, I'm not privy to it. I don't know what is inside.
But
and
how
naturally,
can such a monumental thing take place, and that one you are not privy. You are privy to others. Sam, how can you be?
Don't forget, I'm a student too.
So discriminating.
Bro. Don't forget, my head is buried in my books.
So you are so adroitly selective in what you want to do.
but David, you've raised a very important issue. It almost escaped me. I think after this particular saying that the president has said, I also want us to also look at it from this angle. We the politicians, right now, maybe if you follow my brother to his car, you see the applications that have been put. He's not a minister of employment too. He's a lawmaker. But if you go to his car right now, you see the number of applications looking for jobs and the rest. And he became the recruitment general of his constituency. And police service, he will take people there. Ghana Armed Forces, he will take people there. For National Fire Service, the security services, those who are supposed to be protecting us, now they are loyal to him and not their bosses. Because it's not the boss who gave them the job. It is him who gave them the job. So anytime he picks up a few
more,
I'm making a point. So anytime there's an issue of state interest and he has a different opinion, and these gentlemen are put in the floor there to protect lives and properties, and he thinks otherwise, and he picks a pool and talks to them, he's able to influence them. So as a nation, we should find a way. Me, I've always said it. Look, let me tell you something, David. Those who know me, they know me. As a teacher in Attoh, to be precise, Goy, because I want it to be placed on record, so that even one those. When it was time for best teacher, this and the rest, my CS came to me and said I should apply, because they were saying it's an application. I said, but every day we write our lesson notes. The headmaster marks. They come and then observe us when we are teaching. You, the CS yourself, you come to observe us and the rest. So why not based on your assessment that I am qualified, but then I should rather apply to say that I am qualified. I said, no, I don't see any genuineness in this. But if it is you who is selecting me, that I am qualified, I should enter into the competition, but I should do X, Y, Z, then I understand it. You get what I'm trying to explain here. So the same way I'm feeling the police, it shouldn't be like, how do you call it, he brought the person to come and then be put there. But it should be like, there are certain qualifications, criteria, that when you meet it, regardless of whatever, you are qualified. When you don't meet it, regardless of whatever, you can be the first son of the president. There's no way. Then I believe when we begin to establish things like that, then we will have professionals in the distance. Now, most of the police officers, they just job for the boys. He himself, his interest is not there. But in order not to be just sitting down idly doing nothing, it's better he gets himself occupied. And that is why most of them can be collecting bribes left and right. There are committed one among them. And unfortunately, there are those who leave the service without anything. Those who actually kill themselves for the service. Okay. They normally leave the program without nothing. So I believe that our security matters is not just the spark of violence, but the processes that normally lead to restocking our security services and other things to ensure peaceful coexistence among ourselves is what we should be looking at. And that is why I started by saying that we should look at the remote causes and not the immediate causes.
Okay. Let me bring in the Honorable Ibi Fuseni.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, let me say from the very outset that I found my brother Sabo's presentation. It started very well by making a call that all of us should check our partisan gap and work together as Ghanaians to confront the security challenges that this nation is facing today. I thought he would have gone on that tangent. But he chose to abandon it and bring in no mean a person than the chairman of the NDC.
So that's just your problem.
So, no, I'm coming. All the other things you said subsequently are problems. My brother, let me say without any iota of doubt that the chairman of the NDC, Honorable Ofosu Ampofu, is a very decent Ghanaian. He's a very respectable character. He's a pacifist. In fact, there are some in the NDC who find that even the chairman, look, in the wake of the Iowa West Wogon, there were NDC people who said that, look, we are willing to come to Iowa and fight and not be driven by these MPP hoodlums. Why should we abandon the election? Okay? Let's meet them boot for boot. And we would have seen how the election would have gone. But this man, as chairman of the, was a pacifist. He said, look, it's not worth shedding any blood because of a by-election. Let's leave it and go. There were many people in the party who were not even happy with that position. But this is the pacifist we are talking about today. A very decent gentleman. So this is a figment of Sabo's imagination. And a very, very unfortunate one at that. I just indicated that the loss of my colleague Attoh as a decent member of our house is a very regrettable, very sad development in our democratic process, for which every one of us must feel a sense of regret and condemn. But why? Why are you in a hurry to make partisan politics of that incident? And to cast aspersions over a matter which is before a competent court of jurisdiction. That matter of the doctor tape the MPP went and paraded in order to disparage the national chairman. It's a subject matter of a court, so I don't want to even go on that tangent. Because I know that by the grace of Allah Almighty, his innocence will be proven. Okay? So, let Sabo not go on that target. And why? Even he himself, at a larger status, he was beating a retreat. You said that even sometimes you can even have more enemies in your party, in your own party, than even in the other party. So where does the national chairman come in? You see, so if he can even concede that it is possible that even atrocious acts can be done against people by their own party members, which he admits. So if that is a possibility, why would you lay on a solid conclusion that it is in the hands of a national chairman of your opponent? Because he's your opponent. Should we do that? I have things here I can say against Nana Akufo-Addo and put it squarely at his doors. And some of them can be justified. And when I make the presentation, you see the facts. Okay? But I'm saying that you must have the facts before. And so I take serious exception to the manner in which Sabo crafted it and sought to create the impression that this is something that happened from the opponents of the MPP. It is neither here nor there. Now, let me say, without any iota of that Nana Akufo-Addo says he's colorblind. I want to be sure that the journalists who interviewed him or who put this in the media really heard him properly. But he should be the last person to be talking about being colorblind. I will take his record from his days in opposition to his days in government. And you saw that there's no person who is more color sensitive than Nana Akufo-Addo himself. In fact, he's the grandfather of all politically color sensitive matters in this country. He's the grandfather. I'll give you examples. I'm not just going to make a hanging statement and leave it. Master, you heard of a tape that was going around where it said, Etiwa, yechiro mi bibi kakra. Etiwa, by election, yechiro mi bibi kakra bi. Okay? When under his aegis, they unleash hoodlums to release unprecedented violence on political opponents. When you were talking, I was quiet.
No, you were saying something like that.
You see,
you have your
that's the MPP philosophy. When they are losing the arguments, they convert it into a fight. I stopped.
Honorable, please proceed.
I didn't say anything. When you were making your letter submit, I kept quiet. At a point, if it is useful for you to intervene, fine, I won't have a problem. But I'm just indicating to you. You yourself know that that incident is true. You've been playing the tape and playing the president's voice when he was in opposition. Perpetrating, leading, fomenting, financing violence. Nana Akufo-Addo. Okay? And he turns around and tells you that he's colorblind about those kinds of things. When those hoodlums are arrested by the security and others and they're going to be dealt with, you come in to defend them. To get them out. Now fast track forward. You don't have time. You come into government. Okay? And Massa, one of the first things that have happened that have changed the peaceful nature of our politics in this country was the immediate assumption of Nana Akufo-Addo's presidency in 2017. Look at the orgy of violence across the length and breadth of this country. No region was spared. The unprecedented level of violence unleashed by the MPPs who loves across the country, from Delta forces, invisible forces, Bogatanga bulldogs, Elmina striking sharks, men across the country. You can mention all their names. Power crocodiles, whoever you can call them, across the length. Right at the seat of the presidency, ASP Nakabrus, I'm sure you have heard the story. At the nose of the presidency, he was beaten to pulp by MPP hoodlums. Nana Akufo-Addo, who is not colorblind, who says he's not colorblind, right under his nose, it happened, the report, he was aware. What did he do to the hoodlums? Or when he swore the oath at the Independence Square on 7th January 2017 to protect every Ghanaian, Nanka Bruce was excluded.
Honorable, can one jump to the defense of the president, saying or arguing that at that point in time the vigilantism bill had not been passed? Can we give him the benefit of the doubt and say that because it has been passed?
Don't need, even this vigilante bill, we argued in Parliament that there are already laws that cater for that level of vigilantism. You are just in a hurry to make some political statement by bringing the bill there to come and do that. A bill, if he asks himself, he was not even committed to it. I will show you why he is not committed to it. Okay? And in any case, does the president need a vigilantism bill to protect the life of any Ghanaian? If you have been set upon by hoodlums, thugs, and beaten to pulp, does the state not have a legitimate duty to protect you? They have to wait for the passage of a vigilante bill to come and protect you. It is simply crime. It is crime to beat, to assault, to molest, to injure, and threaten the life of all these are charges that the state can file against you. Even if I just come and touch you in a manner that is aggressive, you can even go and report me for assault. Let alone when you physically assault, you even beat the person to pulp, blood all over him. Do you need any evidence again? It happened. Nothing happened. Okay? Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator, look at what they did to him. They threw him down from the stairs. Look at what happened to him. He was a Ghanaian. He was even appointed by the same MPP. He was not President Mahama's appointee. Look at what they did to him. Okay? What happened to the perpetrators of those criminal acts? Nothing happened to them. Master, they went into a lawful court sitting. A competent court of jurisdiction. The judge had to seek remedy from his seat. He had to flee, run for his dear life in his own court. What happened to all those? In the end, who? Under the authority of Nana Akufo-Addo, his appointee Attorney General, went and Noli Prosequi on a lot of those cases. Today, have you heard of those cases again? In the case of other, they just slapped them with, ask them to come and pay some few coins and get away. Criminal acts of that nature. You go and pay some small money and get away. People have committed less crimes than that. They are rotting in jail. And then Nana Akufo-Addo, who says he's not colorblind, his hoodlums in his party are causing mayhem. They are threatening, maiming, killing even people. Nothing has happened to any of them. Under his watch, since he came to power, have you seen him prosecute successfully one person in the MPP for committing any of these heinous crimes? Single one person. He should mention that last year. Meanwhile, these crimes have been perpetrated. Okay? I can name a lot. Master, look at his own report. When this I also said, we initially protested that nothing will come out of the president setting up of he wants to whitewash the thing. So when he was trying to set up this commission, we in the NDC said that it's an attempt to whitewash. But thanks to Justice Emily Short and Henrietta Mensah-Bosu, they did a diligent job. Okay? And pointed out clearly who the perpetrators, the criminals in the matter were. My brother, no mean a person, the IGP came and said the people who came and paid were not police. I'm sure you heard it. And that there were some criminals who were brought from some other place, who he doesn't know. Inspector General of Police. Talking about people wearing police uniform, who are not police. Never in the annals of our country's history has officially people wearing police uniform identified not to be policemen. We have never seen it in this country. Until Nana Akufo-Addo came and he's president. It has never happened. Under his watch, criminals were wearing police uniform and perpetrating crime in broad daylight using police vehicles. My brother, they have sent it to bizarre heights. Nobody has seen this thing before. And then Nana Akufo-Addo, who says he's colorblind. Color. I don't know what color he's talking about.
Right.
My brother, if you want to see the evidence, Master, look at publications of militia in the castle. The documentary Manasseh Azure did, and they were looking for his blood. He had to run out of this country and go to South Africa. Okay? This is a colorblind president. This is the most color-sensitive president in the history of our country. That when the crimes are committed and their color is MPP, red, white, and blue, you can commit the most heinous crime under Nana Akufo-Addo. If you are MPP, I can assure you, you will go scot-free. Nothing will happen to you.
Honorable, I wanted to bring this ones in. Your flag bearer, the NDC's flag bearer,
yes,
President John Dramani Mahama, has had cause, to complain about what he feels is the insecurity state of the country. He's talked about the militarization of the society. He's mentioned the Yawaso West Wogon incident, and he's also mentioned, talked about the alleged military training camps in the country. And then, most importantly, he's mentioned the infiltration of the security agencies by what he sees to be
I was building my points and coming.
So 2 months into the elections,
yes,
do you think that we can't be safe, judging from the array of security, alleged security, implications and the rest? Do you think 2 months into the elections, Ghana can stand up to be peaceful in the elections?
Master, by the grace of Almighty Allah, I hope and pray Allah's will survive, and that the seed planted by the Almighty Allah cannot be destroyed by the most devastating drought. That's why, in spite of all the machinations of the MPP against President Mahama and the NDC to destroy the NDC is going stronger. And by the grace of Allah, on December 7th, Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP will be uprooted like cassava. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Okay? I was indicating to you, never in our country, in the annals of our country, CC, has the militancy of this environment. And go and listen to Nana Akufo-Addo's statement. He said it when he was in opposition, that very soon the militants in their ranks, believing that the state cannot protect them, will take whatever measures to defend themselves. That's why he said, in those days, today he's president. He should apply the rule.
You don't see the commitment to fight vigilance
at all. In fact, I'm telling you that many of the decisions, they take inspiration from him and from his party. I'm just indicating to you the formation of all these groups and the crimes they have perpetrated, and in government he has done nothing. Indeed, when even a commission he himself put up recommended that action should be taken against some hoodlums and criminals, he himself took unprecedented step to free them. That tells you of the lack of commitment of Nana Akufo-Addo to fight crime and to ensure that even people who are under his watch, who are perpetrating criminal acts, are brought to book. He has no iota of commitment to do that, and that is why it is firstly, my brother, if you plant the wild wind, you will have chaos. Because I'm just indicating to you that thing is emboldening criminals. If people go and commit crime and you let them get away scot-free, others will look at it and think that it's an incentive for them to also go and commit crime. And that is what is happening. So you saw a culture of impunity. And that is the culture of impunity Nana Akufo-Addo's government has shown. And that's it. Master, today, it has never happened. Anytime security forces are going to be recruited, they advertise. Yeah. It's openly advertised. People apply. They go for body selection. You used to go to even work and you see thousands of Ghanaian young men who want to enlist into the armed forces. What has happened under Nana Akufo-Addo? Secret recruitment. You don't see advertised this. You don't see recruitment and you see people passing out. How did they get in first for them to be passing out? Both in the police and in the military. And that is why I feel very sad about this, because our military has one of the highest levels of efficiency and integrity on the African continent. My brother, I went to Rwanda as a journalist in 1994 to go and report on the genocide in that country. Ghana was held in high esteem. Our country was rated as the best. When every other soldiers and others ran away, Ghanaian soldiers stayed there and defended Rwandans. And as a result, they were able to save millions of lives. So the integrity of our armed forces and the performance of our personnel is above board. Fantastic. But of late, under Nana Akufo-Addo, they are denigrating the integrity of our armed forces. When you go and recruit people without even serious checks Today they are even complaining that there are some flat-footed. You know, in the army they have something called flat foot. When you have flat foot, you can't even enter the army. There are flat-footed MPP members who have been recruited into the army.
Okay.
Okay. So you are sacrificing standards.
Right.
Okay. And you are doing this for the sake of political, to use them in the election, to deploy them in the elections. I have even heard stories that they are even doing deployments in a manner that suggests that they are sidelining even some people in the process of deployment. So these things are coming, and legitimately, I believe that we are going to raise this on the floor of Parliament.
Okay.
About some of these matters that are coming up, that attempt to run down our security forces, and take away the freedom and the independence that they had in the past to do their professional jobs.
Okay.
You see, so when you see things like this happening, my brother, it leaves you with the unmistaken this and that. The president is not committed to ensuring peace, order, and stability of the country. He's just interested in whatever he can do to win the elections.
Okay.
All right. Even on that day, there can be unmitigated violence, and he will be pronounced as the winner of the election. Oh, hallelujah! That is what he's looking for. But I want to say that the good people of this country, when the time is up, you can do all that you like, my brother. You can do whatever you like. The verdict of the good people of this country can never be shortchanged.
Right.
It can never be sabotaged or stolen.
Okay.
I've said that. Look, Sabo knows that if Sabo says that the Gombes have a proverb that they say if the fowl doesn't drink the water, he can pour it away.
Okay.
But if he jokes with the water in the barrel, it will be drunk.
All right, but let me
this
bring
one
in
is the water in the barrel for Ghanaians.
Let me bring in our viewers.
And never allow anybody
before
to
I take your summations, wrap up summations quickly. Lots of messages from me. This one says, "Good morning, TV Africa. I'm Yakubu from Tamale. Please tell Sabo that Patanga Palace is under attack. 2 people have been sent to Tamale. The government should be up and doing." I can't confirm this. I can't confirm.
It had been attacked previously, so this is not the first time. Yeah.
Does Sabo even know that? Knows
the chief is dead.
Right. Please, yes.
When
the president decided to throw away the recommendation of the commission, it is clear evidence that our peace in this country is not the concern of the president. What matters to him is winning election at all costs. With such a president, only God will save Ghana. This one is from Osman in Tamale. There are lots of messages because of time. We'll not be able to, to go through all the messages. Sabo, let me take your wrap up then. In the minutes.
Yes, you just allow him to run through without him.
Your seconds are going. Just go.
Sabo, what haven't I justified?
Please let me go. No,
I'm sure after you have spoken, you also allow me.
Because I need to wrap up.
You allow me in fairness to also wrap up. Because he started.
Let me tell you, when we talk of people, the history of, in fact, I don't want to go that way, but you have taken it further. When we talk of people who started the vigilantism business and the rest, let me tell you, and the PNDC law in this country, and the PNDC, CDR was formed and the PNDC, is that not it? PDC was formed and the PNDC. Since the form military division was formed and the PNDC, we have military and the rest of all these people. What was their use?
Right.
We have police service, we have everything, but these things were formed there. Quite apart from that, as Zorka boys gave.
Sabo, we have to go.
No,
so
he was talking of,
yes, so yeah.
And them, ministers and DCs ran and left their sandals when they came to power, and then the food soldiers.
Where did they run?
All right, okay, Sabo. Where did they run? Our time is up. Our time is up.
Like the vigilantes
and they ran. In fact, people brought their sandals as evidence of they ran.
Where did they run? Just name where they ran.
No, what the concept?
Sabo, I have to go. Our time is up.
No, in fact,
so
in fact, you came look. So he was just making unfounded.
All right, so thank you so much for Sabo. Hold on. So
I have put down and I wanted to.
We'll do that on a different platform. But for now, our time is up, and our time is up. I've been in the discussion with Adam Sabo Abdurrahman, is a member of the NPP National Communication Team, and also ABA Fuseni, the MP for Sagnerugu in the Tamale area. My name is David Otokuno Attoh. I sat in for your regular host, Kwame Owusu-Dan. So thank you so much for your time. We see you same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Tika mu da do bi krasi wa se wan timi ansi
mate insist be sure why na me yi kwa na church o jari malaria din ya chinsa
eja kan akoma 2 years so onom dan proke herba mixture osisi mbadu say from oyire nso doctor ka che ne say o malaria mo ani bi oni pedue mu a so onom